Good morning, everybody. Testing 1, 2, 3. I hope this is loud enough. Good morning, Hidden, Bullish, Tariq, Danny. I hope you're all well. Here we go. Good morning, everybody. Let me just adjust that camera a second. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Mike. It is August the 26th today? Are we the 26th? August the 26th, 2025. And we are back. 11 a.m. Central European Time. Wherever you are around the world, it is probably a different time. We've got a busy show today, and we've got some of the show from yesterday. I know we didn't cover them off. We've got Litecoin to talk about and Cardano. We've got some new stuff to talk about today. We're going to be going through the Bitcoin chart. We're going to go through the Ethereum chart. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about Ethereum. Now, I don't know if you remember. I don't know if it was yesterday or Friday. I was talking about the fact that we're going to get to the point where everybody's going to get a treasury. And everybody's going to become the alpha treasury of a chain. I don't know if you remember that. I think it was yesterday. And we were talking about Saylor being Bitcoin, maybe BlackRock if you want to include ETFs. Then for Ethereum, we've got Tom Lee, whatever he's called. We're going to talk about the Solana one today. The article came up last night. We're going to talk about that. Sol Treasuries, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the AVAX ETF. We're going to talk about Globix. Now, Globix is an interesting one because, as I said, I'm just going to turn the sound off on this phone so it doesn't keep interrupting me. Globix is the company managed by the guy that ran my Ethereum miner in R that I was talking about yesterday. So we're going to throw that in there just so you have some idea about the scandalous things that go on around the world in crypto that don't make the headlines. So we've got that to talk about. And as usual, we're going to talk about some X-Files. And of course, we've got a poll question. Are you bearish or bullish for September? And I believe so far, every single person that has voted has said bearish. And I am absolutely on board with that. Good morning, Tariq, if I've not already said good morning to you. So that's it. Tomorrow night as well, we've got the Mew night. As you can see on the screen there, I haven't written the questions yet. I probably need to do that at some point. So Mew night is tomorrow night. We're going to talk about all things Mew. We're going to talk about their DAO a little bit. Probably the Oracle will look at the price action of the charts. And that is pretty much it. I'm going to get straight into the show. And for the third show running, I appear to have forgotten to have changed the title of the show. I don't know why I keep forgetting this. All right, so let's bring this up while I update this. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, that's the prices coming up. Now, when we talk about Bitcoin later, I'm going to tell you what I've been telling you for a while about where I think we are going to go. And it's not as low as people think. We did kind of brush over it yesterday, but I want to talk about it again in a little bit more depth because I didn't really have time to talk about it. And we're going to call it Going Boing. Okay? Now, you'll understand later on when we talk about Bitcoin what I'm talking about when I say going boing. Okay? Good morning, Alpha. I hope you're well. So, also, bottom left-hand corner, we're nearly at 200,000 followers on live. We're at about 6,500 followers on Binance Square as well. So we haven't updated that in an eon again, probably at over 240,000 now, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. We don't have a lot of time. Right. Where are we? Bitcoin coming in at 110,000. That is down just a touch on yesterday. Ethereum has gone back to 4,400. Again, somebody mentioned this in chat yesterday, and I was in absolute agreement that we were going to go there. But there's a few other places I think it's going to go as well, which are a lot lower. So we're going to talk about that. XRP has lost $3 support. BNB is back. I mean, BNB put in an all-time high over the weekend. I think it got to $900. That's back at $840. Solana, again, yesterday we were at, what, 199, was it? We're now at 188. That has come down a touch. And Cardano is going back towards 80 cents. So pretty much as you were. Chainlink has dropped to $23. It was dead on $25 yesterday. I was quite happy because that was my target. Gainers, absolutely nothing. Nothing to write home about. Kronos, Hype, mantle. Very few coins gaining today, or gaining the last 24 hours, should I say. Losers. Chainlink is down 7%. Massive. Dog with Hat. Dupe is down at 46 cents. That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. OP is down. Celestia is down. Not that much, really. I think we should just skip along to look at some X-Files today. And I think we're starting with one of mine. And I have no idea what this is about. This is as much of a surprise for you as it is for me. Let's make sure everything is working. Protagonist is back in chat with his list of coins. Good morning to you, sir. Right, where are we? Maple Finance has surpassed $9 billion in originated loans. The world's largest on-chain asset manager is tearing records across all metrics. $3 billion plus assets under management, $9 billion plus in loans, and probably this month touching about $1.5 million in monthly revenue. Okay? Now, I know that $1 million in revenue compared to the loans and the AUM isn't an awful lot, but you got to remember they are paying out an awful lot of revenue that comes in to you via the different yield options that are available. So if you've got blue chip or high yield, they pay out 8 to 10%, 7 to 10%. If you've got Syrup USDC, they're paying out almost 7% on that. So that monthly revenue is their revenue, not the total revenue coming into the company. So again, massively bullish. And when you divide that by the number of staff that they've got, they have an awful lot left over to spend on marketing, to spend on team growth, to spend on development. So they're in a very, very healthy position. And that number is, for me, the most important number. That's the number that needs to go up. 2 million is next. Clearly then about 5 or 10 million further down the line. Strategy, this came out after the stream yesterday. They, of course, did their weekly buy. They bought another 3,000 Bitcoin at $115,000 per coin. I now think that they own 3% of the supply. I think now 21 million. 1% is 210,000. So 3% is 630,000. And they now hold 632,000. So they now own over 3%. However, it's much more. If you take off Satoshi's 1 million, they are at, 3.3% of the total supply of Bitcoin. And that will go up, but it will go up a lot slower over time, I think. But still, 3% of the total supply of Bitcoin gives them a really commanding position. Of course, BlackRock is going to own a lot more than that. The ETFs are going to own a lot more than that. But for a single entity to own 3% of the total supply is absolutely incredible. Now, this happened yesterday. There was a lot of noise about some massive XRP news that was going to come out, and nobody knew what it was. Some people had an idea that it was something to do with Visa or MasterCard. Some people had an idea that it was to do with a banking system. It's actually the XRP credit card. This pays 4% back, no annual fee. Now, if you're in America, which most of you are not, this is an actually really good deal down here. And I don't know an awful lot about these cards in America. Maybe you get these deals with every card that you get. But 2% back on your groceries, 3% back on your dining, and 4% back basically on transport. It's a pretty good deal. And the card is pretty sexy looking. And as we've said before, these are going to be like cornflakes boxes in the next few years. Everybody worth their salt is going to give you a crypto card. Everybody, okay? The days of certain companies having pretty much exclusivity on the market, they're gone. Everybody's going to have these cards. You'll be able to get a Solana card, an Ethereum card, Cardano card. You'll be able to get what you want. And the cashback will be in that token. And it's going to happen. It's pretty much the way it's been. You know, remember when, well, you won't remember, you're all too young. I remember a time when certain shops in the UK didn't allow debit and credit cards. Marks and Spencer's, for example, you could only buy shopping with cash or their card. And that held out till the early 2000s. And now, of course, everybody accepts everything from everywhere. So it's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. Now then, this is a big one. And I've thought a couple of times about this. This is either going to absolutely rocket or it's going to absolutely collapse. Ricky Ricardo, I bought the top yesterday again and bought the dip today. I just keep stacking before the train leaves the station. Absolutely 100% the best bit of advice you've heard in chat all day. Dollar cost average in. A few weeks ago, when we were heading to all-time highs, what did I say? Keep dollar cost averaging in. As we come down, and as I think we're going to come down a lot further in the next 5 or 6 weeks, you keep dollar cost averaging in. And when we get to October, that's when you want your bags packed, because October is when we're going to take off. Not today, not tomorrow, not September. October is when we take off. You buy the dips, you buy the tops, you buy everything, especially Bitcoin. Now, this coin is launching at about, 20 cents or 10 cents? Something along those lines. I'm half tempted to buy this token. Okay, now, I try to be transparent, and I'm going to be very transparent right now. I do not know the tokenomics. I do not know the use case. I know nothing about this token at all. Now, if you were to tell me that you were going to buy a token and you knew nothing about the token, I would probably say it's not a very wise idea. But what I do know about World Liberty Financial is that they have been stacking Ethereum and wrapped Bitcoin since before the election. The board consists of Donald Trump's sons. Certainly Eric and Donald Trump Jr. are on board. They are going to manipulate somehow, and in a legal way, they are going to manipulate World Liberty Financial to be a success. And for me, that's probably all I need to know. But the question with this is, you're getting on a plane which is going to head towards the stars. At some point, it will run out of gas or air or atmosphere. And then the engines will stall and this thing will come crashing down. Not today, not tomorrow, maybe 2027, 2028, whatever it might be. But I am half tempted to buy this. The last time I wanted to buy a token was Circle, and that went up way beyond I was willing to pay for it. But I am thinking about dipping my toe in World Liberty. Now, what I'm not going to do is, this coin is going live on September the 1st, which is a week away. What I am not going to do is buy it on day one if it goes up 1,000%. Because if that happens, then I'm not going to buy the coin. I would like this coin to go live and tank, which is not going to happen. I know that. It's wishful thinking. But what might happen is what happened with Circle. This coin runs from, let's say, 10 cents to $1, $2. And the hype dies down and then it falls away and it comes back down to 50, 60 cents, 40 cents, whatever. That's when I will buy this coin. But I am going to own an incredibly small piece of this. I might buy $100 of this token. That's it. Not a lot. So I'm not advising you to go and buy this token either, but there are some places where you can get discounted WLFI tokens. I think Binance are going to be listing it as well. Certainly Binance have got a tie-in with the Trump administration as well, so there's probably going to be some kind of offer through Binance to get this token. But for me, I'm going to dip my toe, but I'm not going to dip it unless it crashes, or I'm going to wait to buy it on a retracement. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I did with Dupe, and I still think I'm not quite underwater with Dupe. I think I was buying Dupe between 46 and 50 cents, but of course I had my airdrop as well, so I'm going to hold on to that. Now then, multiple experts project a long-term price target of $706,000 for ETH. The important thing to read on this screen is this comment here, which says multiple experts are high. $706,000 for ETH, and their argument that this is going to come true is people told you that Apple would not be a $3.38 trillion dollar project. Now, just to put this into context, if Ethereum did go to, let's say, 4 trillion, it would give it a market, so it would give it a coin value of about 42,000. So even if it did what he is trying to say down below, it's only going to go to 42,000. Now, at what point is long term? Is long term 100 years? If long term is 100 years, then I completely agree with this statement. If long term is 4 or 5 years, these people are idiots. Okay? And this is what is going to damage you and your portfolio, is believing absolute crap like this. $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 for Ethereum this cycle is absolutely fantastic. Previously, if you'd have asked me a year and a half ago, I was talking about 10 to 20,000. I've tempered my expectations because, basically, in my opinion, Grayscale absolutely rugged the entire ETF by dumping on Ethereum for about six to 9 months, which in hindsight, we probably might have worked that one out, but I don't think so. I think that would be a bit hard. So this is never going to happen. Take off a zero, 70,600. That would be a 10x from, say, 7,600. In the next cycle or the cycle after, I would probably, yes, maybe agree with that, but not this. This is absolute nonsense. DiviBet is absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on. Now then, let's get into some actual articles. I mean, I could spend all day and just sit here and go through 20 tweets, but I don't think that would add a massive amount of value. Good morning, Taufik. I hope you are well. Remember, if you're in chat, say hello. Right. Bitcoin's hidden zone exposed why 105,000 matters more than you think. Now, many moons ago, 4, 5, 6, 8 weeks ago, I said, as long as we stay above 104,000, I am happy. You probably won't remember me saying that because it was a long time ago. And there's a reason for that. And that is the different, basically, areas that Bitcoin is in. And we've held that like a champion. And we've gone all the way up to 120,000 plus like a champion. And now we're a bit tired and we need to come down a little bit. And this is why these zones matter. Large Bitcoin wallets keep distributing out the slowing intensity could point to a weakening sell pressure. All eyes on 105,000 support zone. Bitcoin's recent pullback from its all-time high of 124,000 has drawn attention to the 105,000 zone. That is a level in the ongoing correction, according to the latest analysis shared by CryptoQuant, who know what they're talking about. While behavior across cohorts pointed to a mixed but telling picture of accumulation and distribution patterns, the smallest holders distributed heavily at the peak, but quickly returned to accumulate as prices declined. This indicated their tendency to follow rather than shape the market. We don't need to talk about the actual markets. Overall distribution outweighs accumulation, but the intensity is waning. If Bitcoin revisits 105, that's the level where people believe that there is a last stronghold. Remember, there is no such thing as a last stronghold. There is a last stronghold of a price band. If we lose 105, we might go into the price area below that. But it's the last stronghold of this area. A breakdown below could spark increased fear and accelerated selling, while strength could mean that the asset is poised for a stronger recovery. Weak hands flushed potentially. While the violent move rattled sentiment, it also performed a structural reset. Overextended positions were flushed, leverage was reduced. Put my teeth back in. And weak hands were shaken out. Now, I'm all in agreement with that. And it's very rare that I agree with every article we read, but I'm in absolute agreement with this. Now, let's try. I was trying before to bring up the charts, and the Oracle has changed it all to black and white. So if this comes up and it's not my chart, we'll just, there we go, it is up, perfect. So there's a couple of important things to realize about where we are right now in the world of Bitcoin. And I was talking a week or so ago to the Oracle about this, and he was streaming and I was watching his stream, and I think him and KB both agreed 110,000 were really important levels. And I said, absolutely agree. My target is a lot lower. Now, my target for Bitcoin is these areas here. If we just move that down there. So, my target here is about 106.7 and 107.4. That's the bull market support band. Now, when I was talking about why 104,000 was important for me, it's really to do with what happened over here. So if you look, and just visually look rather than looking at the chart, look at the price area there that's between 100,000 and 110,000. And then look at the area up here. Forget the wick up there. Look at that area up there. That's between 110 and about 120. So they are both roughly $10,000 areas. Now, what they're talking about in that article is if Bitcoin breaks down, it will be back in this zone. That's what they're talking about. If we hold here, we are back in this zone. So that is literally what they're talking about. Now we are sitting at support that was previous resistance. So you see this line here that's catching the top of some of these wicks. That was previous resistance, it's now support. If we lose that, we have to then look at where is the next place we can come. And if you look at the title of the show today, it is called Going Boing. Why is it called Going Boing? Because the bull market support band is something that we bounce off. Sometimes we crash through it and we get stuck beneath it, and other times we bounce. Now, I'm expecting, and not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I'm expecting us to come down to this area here. Okay? Now, can we go lower? We could certainly go below the 104,000. But I just think this is a really key area. And when we were up here and we wicked above, and I've said this yesterday as well, I said we're not outside of the zone, we're in the zone, we just happen to have gone above it. Now, if we've got a wild move above my area, my channel, then there's no reason why we can't have a few wicks down below my channel. And until the channel loses its integrity, we're still in that channel. So when we were up here, as you remember, I said we need to find support here and bounce, and we didn't. We came straight back into it, and we didn't just come straight back into it. We hit our all-time high, 123,500, and then we came straight back down, and now we're sitting below it. And we've wicked below 110,000 a few times. But if we lose the 110,000, then I think we're going to the bull market support band. And I would trust the bull market support band more than I trust my channel. So I don't think this is over. I think we're going to come down. We've got 5 weeks left. In those next 5 weeks, we are going to come to the bull market support band and maybe go below it. Okay? The same way that you can see wicks below certain levels. If we go back in history, the line is never meant to be absolute. It's a guide. So I think we can easily spend a day or two down here, which is, where was my number? About 104, 105,000. So I think we could, in that area there, let's leave that box. I think we could come there. But also, this doesn't mean it's the end of the bull run. We still are following this red line that I drew randomly 3 or 4 weeks ago, and we can bounce today and we can come back up. Maybe it's a weak pump, maybe it's a full pump back to the top of the range, and then we come down here. Maybe this happens at the beginning of October, end of September, and that is maybe where we hit the bull market support band. So I'm not saying it's today, I'm saying it's going to happen between now and October. And again, don't fall into this mindset Okay? We are so rich just because we're at $120,000. It's all over when we're at $110,000 or $108,000. Neither of those things are technically the end of the bull run or technically true. We are not at the end of the bull run, and we have a lot more juice left in the tank. But we cannot and will not be drawn into being happy or depressed when we're at $110,000, because that is not the end goal. End goal, 130, 150, 170,000. That's the end goal. Or I think so anyway. Now then, Ethereum is digital fuel powering the next financial era, says Crypto Treasury CEO. We seem to have flipped the narrative from ETFs to treasuries. And that seems to have happened overnight. I think Tom Lee and Michael Saylor are partially responsible for this. And again, I don't want to repeat myself from what I said yesterday, where everyone's just looking at what are the top chains, what doesn't have a treasury, what can I buy 5% of the total supply of. I know all of those things. But this is huge buying pressure, and this is telegraphed buying pressure as well. We've seen Michael Saylor raise billions and billions of dollars to make money out of Bitcoin. We've seen millions and millions and tens and hundreds of millions of dollars of coming into Bitmine or whatever Tom Lee's company is. We're going to talk about Solana's treasury options in a minute. So these are telegraphed moves that are going to raise a lot of money. Now, on the grand scheme of things, $200 million worth of Solana or $2 billion worth of Ethereum, it's not an awful lot of money, but it will move the price. Okay, you don't need to double the money coming in to double the market cap of a coin. That's number one. So it will move it up. And maybe this will be the next reason we hit $5,000. Maybe we're going to see a God candle. Somebody goes out and buys $3 billion worth of Ethereum, and suddenly we're back at $5,000. Maybe. We'll look at the chart in a second. So Ethereum's recent outperformance has reignited interest in its role as infrastructure, particularly among structured treasury firms. Republic Technologies' strategy focuses on yield through validators and derivatives rather than speculative accumulation. CEO Daniel Liu views Ethereum as a functional asset, distinct from Bitcoin store of value positioning. Now, what's the big difference between Ethereum and Solana treasuries and Bitcoin treasuries? And the answer is very simply revenue. Ethereum and Solana will both generate revenue. So if you have $100 million worth of Ethereum, you're going to get roughly $3 million a year in income from that. A Solana treasury on $100 million is likely to pay you north of 7%, which is $7 million a year. So unlike Saylor and his ever increasing list of products where he's trying to accumulate cash to convert to Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana treasuries, they have passive income from the validators. The Ethereum and Solana validators, maybe they use Marinade Finance, which is a liquid staking token, maybe. But the point of the matter is both of these are going to make an income from their treasuries. Ethereum's position as the base layer for much of the crypto economy appears to be solidifying, even as market volatility persists. In contrast to the speculation-driven spikes of earlier cycles, this phase is influenced by legal frameworks and infrastructure development. The Genius Act is paving the way for US institutions, while stablecoin regulations are progressing in Asia. As a result, Ethereum is increasingly perceived not just as a trading asset, but as a comprehensive system. Now, we're not going to go into it in too much depth, but suffice to say, we've always known these things. There is no surprise in anything that's on this screen now. We have been Ethereum heavy since we started this channel. Bitcoin is number one, Ethereum is number two. That's 60% of our portfolio in the $15,000 to $1 million portfolio. So 60% of our assets are in Ethereum and Bitcoin. And yes, a Bitcoin ripped from 15,000 to 115,000 and Ethereum was asleep. And then suddenly Ethereum woke up and chose $5,000 and it went straight there. So of course there's going to be cooldowns, resets, profit taking. Of course, I was talking myself about taking profits on Ethereum only on Friday or Monday. So The point of this is that we've known this all along. And what I said to you a long time ago is, it's the narrative that drives a lot of the treasuries. The treasuries were always looking at assets. What do we buy? They're coming to crypto with a few experts. What is an expert going to tell them to buy? Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's what they're going to tell them to buy. Now, this is the wrong chart yet again. I wish. TradingView has one job, and it's done absolutely horrifically. It's awful, TradingView. Now then, so Ethereum retraced from 4009 all the way back down. It actually got to the fib level. Now, Ethereum, for me, has this... Actually, should we go along here? There we go. So Ethereum has this line, which it's got to hold, and it's $4,000. And if Ethereum doesn't hold $4,000, it's going to come down to this next line here, which is about $3,400. Okay? That is where we could come. Now, I'm not saying we're going to come there. There's different scenarios. $4,000, I think, is going to be really heavy support for Ethereum. But if Bitcoin does come back to the bull market support band, if Bitcoin falls below the bull market support band, don't think for 1 second that everything else isn't going to get trashed, because it will. So if in a scenario where you have Bitcoin at $101,000, so 10% down from now, if we said that we're going to retrace 20% from here, that would take us down to about 3,500, 3,600, which is that area there. Okay, so that is the area we can come to on Ethereum. That's not cast iron, but absolutely a possibility. Now, the other possibility is that a load of news comes out and there's a ton of buying pressure on Ethereum. There is rumors that people are selling Bitcoin to buy Ethereum. That is a rumor. We don't know. But if that's the case, then maybe we have another crack at $5,000. Maybe we have another crack at $5,000 and Ethereum has one little leg up, gets here, and then comes down. Okay? But I would expect Ethereum to come down by the end of September. All of the things to do with the way price action works are not based on this kind of action. Okay? They are like this. Okay? Now, for us to go to $7,000 or $8,000 or even $9,000 on Ethereum, you cannot expect this kind of movement without any kind of retracement. It doesn't work that way. So what I would like to see, again, with Bitcoin, I showed you what I want to see with Bitcoin. I want to see something like that, where we come back down into this range. Everybody thinks it's over because we've broken $4,000. Everyone thinks it's over because we've gone to 3,006, 3,004. And then towards October, November, December, we absolutely moon and we go up again. That's what I want to see from Ethereum. And again, there's a lot of things to go under the bridge between now and then. And if you are Solana, Ethereum, Bitcoin heavy, then it's all about patience and dollar cost averaging into what you want to buy. That is pretty much it. It's the most boring way to accumulate wealth. You want to win, you have to be bored for 95% of the market. I've held Bitcoin now for 8 years, 9 years, 8 or 9 years, something like that. And in that time, I can think of maybe 3 really exciting moments. When we were heading towards 20,000, that was exciting because it went from nowhere. When we were at 60s and heading towards 100,000 and we all thought we were going to go to the moon, that was pretty exciting. And this cycle breaking 100 and then 110,000, that was exciting. They're the only 3 exciting moments in 9 years. So one exciting moment every 3 years. We've had way more bad times, going towards 15,000, dropping down towards 3,000. The tariff war, the COVID 2020 when we just wiped out Bitcoin. There's way more down times, bad times than good times. And you just got to basically sit through all of it. If I told you you've got to watch a crap movie for 9 years, but there's 3 good bits that you don't want to miss. I mean, can you imagine that? That's pretty much what crypto is. It's just watching a really long crap version of Lord of the Rings, maybe in a different language, and you've got no subtitles, and you've got to sit there for 9 years just watching this film. And then every once in a while, I don't know, an orc will pop up or Gollum will pop up. There's no difference. It's so boring. So boring. A $1 billion Solana treasury play what a $1 billion Solana treasury play would mean for Sol. Solana continued its weekend correction, even as an unnamed source says major crypto firms are planning a 1 billion Sol treasury. Again, this is now the narrative. We seem to have moved on from ETFs, but we'll go back to ETFs when we get the new ETFs. October is around the corner. We're going to have XRP. We're going to have Solana. We might even have the blue chip Trump ETF signed off. Lots of ETFs to come. What do we talk about now? We talk about treasuries. 3 major crypto firms are said to be raising $1 billion for a Solana treasury fund. Solana is down 5%, reeling from the weekend crypto market crash. Future data shows bullish positions amongst speculative traders. The effort of these 3, Galaxy, Jump, and Multicoin. The effort, which is the backing of the Solana Foundation, would be the largest reserve of its kind for the digital asset, an unnamed source said. The source said the group had enlisted Cantor Fitzgerald as a lead banker for the transaction. Who else do Cantor Fitzgerald work with? They work with Maple Finance. Do Maple Finance currently accept Solana as collateral? No, they do not. Do I think you need to put 2 and 2 together? I do not think you need me to tell you that Solana is likely to be collateral on Maple Finance in the near future. This strategy of accumulating digital assets on corporate balance sheets is similar to Michael Saylor's approach with strategy. It is Saylor's play. This is what it is. I think this further adds to the compelling narrative that companies having a digital asset treasury is a prudent strategy. Steve Gregory, founder of crypto trading platform vTrader, told Decrypt, a Solana treasury makes strong financial sense considering the network's staking rate of 7%, which is higher than both a traditional treasury yield and Ethereum staking rate. Now, we're not going to go into too much of that. I'm not going to bring up the Solana chart either. I want to be the person who sits here and tells you not all treasuries are going to be a success. And I am absolutely not on board with these strategies by companies. Having a Bitcoin treasury is one thing. It won't rip, it won't dump, it will move. Could I see Solana going below $100 in a bear market? Yes. Could I see Ethereum going below $2,000 in a bear market? Yes. As time goes on and as the assets grow in value, the chances of those two things happening get smaller and smaller. I'm aware of that. But if there was a bear market tomorrow and Solana's at $180, $185, a 50% correction puts it at $95, $93. If there's a 50% correction or even a 40% correction on Ethereum, that puts us at $2,800. Now, your job as custodian of the wealth of your company is to protect it and invest prudently. I would argue in a court of law that neither investing in Ethereum or Solana are prudent, and therefore you have basically gambled your company's treasury's assets. That's what I would argue. And I am not on board with this, and I will not be on board with this for a very long time. If Apple, Tesla, for example, said, right, we've got $100 billion that we're going to put into crypto because we've got $1 trillion worth of assets, I'd say, okay, 10% allocation. And then they say, right, we're going to put 70% into Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then we're going to put 30% into Solana and XRP. I'd say, yep, that's a fine play, okay, because you're Bitcoin, Ethereum heavy. I don't think doing any of these things is going to work out in the long term, and I think investing in SUI or SEI, I can just see the collapse, and it will cascade. Because let's say that this treasury has to liquidate itself and sell $1 billion worth of Solana, and let's say they do it sensibly and they sell it every day for a month, and they're pumping $50 million or $40 million a day into the market. The sell pressure will bring down the price of Solana. Now let's say that it goes from 180 to 130, 140 based on that sell. Then you've got another treasury which has a liquidation price of $150, which we've now gone below. So then they have to liquidate their $100 million worth of Solana, and that pushes the price down to 120. And then more treasuries get liquidated at that point. There is a huge problem, and I think it will cause contagion as well. Even if it happens to Solana, it's going to make ETH treasuries, maybe even the Bitcoin treasuries, think twice, because there's a bear market coming, and I don't care what anybody tells me, we're getting a bear market at some point in the next 2 years. This is not good. Now let's say, Mike, you're an idiot, you're wrong, and you're really, really pessimistic. Okay, so let's say, for argument's sake, Solana goes to $1,000, and they've got $5 billion in Solana, and they've made $4 billion in profit. Do you think for 1 second that their shareholders are going to want them to sit on $5 billion worth of Solana? Or do you think that they will say, we need to play the game properly, and we need to sort out risk management here, and we can't have $5 billion in any one thing, whether it be gold or Bitcoin or the S&P? So then they say, right, I want you to go and sell $2.5 billion of Solana and liquidate it. It's the same problem. It's still going to bring the price down. Whether the price of Solana goes up or the price of Solana goes down, it's still going to have a dramatic effect. And we're not talking about one individual who dumps 24,000 Bitcoin of a Sunday evening. We're talking about the fact that if this is done in the wrong way, and 10 or 20 treasury companies use Solana, the market cap and the liquidity in Solana is probably not going to be there to sustain that amount of sell pressure. Bitcoin, yes, probably. Solana, I don't think so. And it's my worry, and I don't like it. And if I, as I said yesterday, if I was on the board of a company planning to do this, I'd be like, right, you're going to raise the money, fine. What are the terms of the money that you're going to raise? What happens if you borrow $100 million and it drops to $70 million in value? Are they going to put a call on that to ask you for the $100 million back? I'm not saying they're all idiots and it's all going to happen. I'm saying even if a percentage happens, it's not going to be good for crypto. And I don't want this to be a corporate bubble that pops, because we're all going to get kicked in the nuts at that point. 100 Years of Solitude. Yeah, I know. I've seen some terrible films in my time. Absolutely terrible films in my time. I think the worst one, and it sticks in my head because of the name, I think it was called Ishtar or Iktar. Ishtar or Iktar, can't remember. I think it came out in the 90s. And I don't even think it had a plot. It was that bad. But then again, I'm one of those people that watches films that everybody raves about, and I just don't see it. Blair Witch Project. No, it's not a decent film, is it? It's just a load of people with a camcorder that cost $50,000 to make. They made hundreds of millions of dollars out of it. All right, you know what? We're going to give up on that one. This was about Grayscale. So basically, Grayscale have applied for an Avalanche ETF. And being crypto, this is the second stream on the trot where their page is not loading properly. They need to sort that out. Now, this is a little bit of an insight into something I spoke about yesterday. And that is that I had an Ethereum miner, and one of the guys that ran this company. So basically, Globix was a company that was based out of Gibraltar, and they basically lost all of the money. The operator of the crypto platform Globix set to face civil claims for misfeasance Fraudulent trading and insolvent trading. The collapsed firm, which owes $40 million to investors, including many Gibraltarians, is at the centre of a complex legal battle by liquidations to recover funds. Now, luckily, Binance came to the rescue on this, and that's another reason I'm bringing this up, because it does involve Binance. So Damian Carreras was the CEO of this company, and they had their wallet with Binance, and the other wallet was Pavel Sidorov's. He was the guy that was running the mining operation, and he basically was the one that fled in the middle of the night, came all the way down to the south coast of Spain. So they were the two people involved. Now, what this involved was a very complex web of investing. And now, I said yesterday that they were offering you 2% a week, and they weren't offering you 2% a week. They were offering you 1% a day, which is what, 30% a month. Now, I'm including this because I like to include scams, because by me telling you about scams, you learn to avoid them. If you see any platform offering you more than 20%, 15% a year because of their quant trading, their AI bots, their special 50 years worth of investment history. If you see any of that stuff, it's a scam. You will get LPs, liquidity pools, that of course will pay you 500%, but they won't pay you 500% forever. They will drop over time. Then maybe the token's value drops over time as well. But they're different. If you're on Binance and you get 12% on USDC, that's an incredible offer. Excuse me. If you see 6 or 7% on Solana, great offer on Binance Earn. If you see the Bitcoin product earning you 2 to 3%, again, fine. If anybody offers you 1% a day, delete the email, delete the WhatsApp message, delete the X message, never speak to that person again, because it's a scam. Now, this was traded, the Globix traded under Miracle World, which was based in the BVI. Damian Carreras was the shareholder, and he wanted local investors to put their funds in. Now, the Supreme Court ordered that the wallets on several platforms, including Binance, were frozen, and that was the first time that had happened in Gibraltar, and it was the right thing to do. And Binance, they were brilliant about this. They recovered an awful lot of the funds. But the issue here was not that the company collapsed, it's how it collapsed. And basically the story goes is the developers stole all of the funds, $42 million, $28 million, whatever it might be. They stole the funds, and they locked Damian and the team out of the assets. That's Damian's court appearance case. But the long and short of this is that I know Damian. I've had coffees with him. He's a sound guy. And either way, I'm not going to take sides in this, because it's not my job. All I will say is that you have to look at the cold, hard facts. And one day, one of your good friends will say to you, I'm in this crypto scheme. It's fantastic. It's paying me 10% a month. That person has been hooked in. Now, luckily, as soon as I heard 1% a day, I walked away. I was like, this is ridiculous. Nothing pays you 1% a day. I don't care who you are. Ponzi schemes run at 1%. These fake platforms that pop up platforms, they do that. If you're new to crypto, if you're new to Binance, or if you've been here for a while, don't be tempted. Keep your funds on Binance. They're safe, okay? Binance has gone through an incredible bear market and come out the other end, okay? Binance is safe. Make sure you've got all your two-factor authentication, your anti-phishing codes, all of those things. Keep them all turned on. Your SMS notifications, keep them all turned on, and keep your account safe. And under no circumstances, ever go with a platform that offers you 1%, or don't go with any platform that is based in the BVI, okay? Because all of these types of platforms are scams. Interestingly enough, one of my companies that I ran many years ago, we did have an office in the BVI a long time ago, and that wasn't for any nefarious reason, by the way. That's because we had to keep our IP, the intellectual property of our company. We had to keep it in a kind of a separate place from where we were. So we transferred all of the IP to a BVI company. We didn't transfer any money over there. We didn't have a bank account over there. We didn't do any of that stuff. But we kept our IP there for a long time. And then we transferred it to Gibraltar after about 10 years. Anyway, we're going to move on. How long do we have left? 10 whole minutes. We've got plenty of time. Cardano showing signs of life as traders eye a fresh rally. Here are the levels you need to watch. Now, again, this and the next article that I'm going to cover about Litecoin, they were yesterday's articles before this moved down. So just be aware of that. However, you know the prices I'm talking about on Cardano. ADA's price is rebounding with the open interest climbing close to record highs. Stablecoin activity on Cardano is rising, adding liquidity and network strength. Support sits at 82 to 84 cents. What are we at today? 82 cents. Exactly. Upside targets $1.02 and $1.17. I think $4,000 to Ethereum is $1 to Cardano. It's a major, major psychological barrier for Cardano, and it hasn't stayed above it ever. It never gets and stays above $1. But that doesn't mean it won't in the future. It just means that's where the majority of buying and selling happens. 99 cents, $1.01. So we're sitting at the support now. But what I'm interested in is this. Fresh numbers from CoinGlass show futures open interest in ADA climbed from 1.54 billion to 1.77 billion on Monday. Okay. At the same time, DeFi Llama data revealed the stable coin market cap tied to Cardano has been climbing steadily since July, hitting 38 million as of Monday. Now, as it says here, stablecoin liquidity and network liquidity are kind of hand in hand. It's really good. Now, before you all laugh at $38 million in stablecoins, because of course Ethereum's got what, 82 billion. I remember a time 2.5 years ago where Solana had less than $100 million worth of stablecoins on it, and now it's got billions. Okay, you can't suddenly go from zero to $1 billion of stablecoins on your network if the demand isn't there, and it has to build up over time. Now, $38.5 million worth of stablecoins on Cardano is brilliant, and it is growing. Okay, you can see here that October last year it was probably at 15 million, so it's gone up 250% in less than a year. That takes time. It's like watering your flowers and watering your plants. They take time to grow, and having 38 million, and I'm sure it's going to hit 50 million, then it's going to hit 100 million. Look at Sonic as a good example. Sonic has a lot of stablecoin activity now over there, and that's all a good thing. Okay, so for me, this is the one thing holding back Cardano, and that is the stablecoin liquidity. So, two things to point out. The futures interest is going up on Cardano. People are more positive about its future, and it's adding stablecoins. Again, massively bullish, but this is a long game. We might be talking about $200 million in stablecoins in August next year, maybe even the end of next year. It's going to take time. Okay, now if they bring for example USD G, USDY, USDE, if they bring some yield-bearing stablecoins to to Cardano, then that is going to drive up a lot of the stickiness of Cardano. Because what you want to do, let's say you make profits out of a Cardano-based meme coin, you make $5,000. You want to basically keep it on that chain, but earn a yield while you're waiting. So you can do a liquidity pool between USDC, USDT, whatever it might be over there. But if you've got, for example, Syrup USDC over on Cardano paying you 6 or 7%, you're going to keep your money there earning 6 or 7%. And that's what they need to get to. They need to get to the point where you physically make money out of the chain. And I think they are on the cusp. But again, we've pointed out this problem for 2 years. It's been a problem ever since we've been streaming. If there is no liquidity on your chain, you have an issue. 4 years ago, before there was a lot of liquidity on Solana, people used Solana as their base currency. So if you sold an NFT, if you bought and sold meme coins over there, you converted it all back to Solana. I did that. I used to do that. But now is a time where you can say, right, well, I don't want to keep everything in Solana because we're getting towards the end of the bull run or we're hitting $400 or $500, whatever. I'm going to use stable coins. And if that option isn't there to convert to stable coins, you've got a problem. Right, will Litecoin recover? Traders seem confident despite recent dip. Litecoin dipped below its trend line, yet funding rates increased, signaling leveraged optimism. The stochastic RSI bounced, raising chances that the drop was only a fake out. As we know, it wasn't a fake out, we've actually dropped. However, that move alone did not confirm a full trend reversal, but it did introduce caution into the short-term outlook. And I think what I would say on here, momentum stuck between signals is probably the best title for me to leave on the screen now. We are coming down over the next 5 weeks. Yes, we're going to wick up. Yes, we're going to have, $3,000 or $4,000 candles maybe on Bitcoin as we pump up. But overall, I think we're going to come down to the bull market support band. That is potentially another 5% away for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin comes down 5%, Ethereum could very easily come down to $4,000. Solana could come down to 160. Cardano comes down to 60 cents. Litecoin can come down another 10 or 15%. But it's not the end of the bull run. It's just what happens. Lots of people watch their coins and don't consider the entire market. If Bitcoin drops 20% tomorrow and goes to $90,000, the entire market will crash. So if you sit there and you've got your portfolio and you've got Litecoin, AVAX, SUI, and SEI, and that's it in your portfolio, and you don't listen, you don't look at the news, and you just see them all coming down, you're going to say, why is this happening? Watch Bitcoin and watch the macro. That's all you need to do. If Bitcoin starts to move up, if this bottom was 109,000 and we start to move up again, a lot of the alts are going to follow it. But not all alts are created equally. And Litecoin, believe it or not, I've got a lot of optimism in Litecoin because it's going to get an ETF. If it gets an ETF, guess what? It is going to go up in value. Of course it will over time. So Litecoin for me is a positive. How long do we have left? Okay, we're going to switch from that now. I'm very, very positive on Litecoin. I don't hold any Litecoin. I used to hold Litecoin. Now I do not. I think... Advert behind my head. I think that if you've held it from the lows, then you are going to make a good return in the highs. That's all I'll say on it. Because I think Litecoin, if you get in at the right price, you're going to do probably 5 to 10x on it in this cycle. XRP's done that. Solana has already done probably a 15x. So you've already got the gains out of it. Litecoin is just going to follow the pack, maybe a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher, and that's the hard part to track. Is if you've got somebody in chat that's held Hyperliquid since it was $2, they've already done a 25x, 20x. If you're Tariq and you've been buying Litecoin at $30 or $40 and it goes to $150, Tariq's done a 4 to 5x. You're not in the same race. You're in your own race. And maybe a 4 or 5x is exactly what Tariq wanted. I have said that from not quite the lows of this cycle, but pretty far down, I wanted to do a 5 to 10x. So far, I think I'm about a 5x up. So if we just go up another 50% from where we are today, I've hit my target. And then I'm done. Absolutely done. Everything is being thrown into the orders. I'm going to sell everything apart from Bitcoin because that's my goal. And there's people in chat who might have a goal of 2030. People in chat who might have a goal of 2050. You've all got your own goal. Don't use my goal for your goal. Your goal is your goal. If you are 22 years of age and you have $10,000 in crypto, and let's say the majority of that is in Bitcoin, and you sit on that for the next 8 years, you are going to have an immeasurable amount of wealth more than you have got today. If you're in chat and you are 65 and you want to go and buy a villa in the Alps, or you want to go and buy a villa by the sea, then maybe you want to cash out at the end of this year. We've all got our own races to run. Just be careful. Well, he's waiting for the sell hat. I need to go and buy a sell hat, Tariq. That's what I need to do. Anyway, it is the end of the stream. I am... Oh, well, I'm not back tomorrow day. Tomorrow night, we have the Mew quiz. Now, last week was a lot better because we were both on camera, but we weren't in the same room. We haven't managed to get to the office yet. I don't know if we're going to get to the office again tomorrow. But either way, we're going to be live tomorrow night with the Mew quiz. So there's no stream tomorrow at 11. Tomorrow night, we are live with the Mew quiz. Now, we're live on Binance because it's a Binance-listed coin. Follow us on Binance by all means. The quiz will be interactive. For those that want to play, you can play. And that is pretty much it from the stream. I don't want to overrun a lot today. I always try and keep it to an hour. I don't want to overrun. Your time is precious. Think of it this way. If there's 50 people watching and they watch for an hour, that's 50 hours worth of time I've consumed. 2 days worth of time I have consumed in the universe. Okay, so I'm very careful that I don't go to an hour and a half, even though I could sit here and talk for hours. So thank you all for turning up. Tariq, thank you for coming. Danny, Tarduk, Alpha is in chat. Hidden is here as well. Has anybody seen KB? Is KB on holiday? I've not seen him in a few days. But anyway, the Oracle is back tonight. It's Tuesday, isn't it? The Oracle is back tonight. So watch that. May is bearish. Oh, yeah, the poll. I forgot about the poll. 71% are bearish for September, and I'm in that boat as well. I think we will come down in September, and then May wasn't here for last October. But last September and last August, which feels like 5 minutes ago, I was screaming for people to pack their bags by October. And then what happened in October? We absolutely flew. So I think the same thing's going to happen again this year. And the Oracle is back tonight. So thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all tomorrow night. The Oracle is streaming tonight, so watch him tonight. Watch us tomorrow night. We've got prizes. We've got Mew prizes to give away. I think we give away about $50 in Mew. $45, I think. I don't know. We'll check. $45 to $50 we're going to give away in Mew. I'm going to put that in the giveaway group as well. But anyway, thank you all for watching. See you all tomorrow night. Take care.